goals-0. Of course, significant regarding the title race. Not only those 3 points, but also in the goal difference as well. Do you want some records that were set tonight? Here we go then. They've outscored opponents 31-3 in their last 7 Premier League matches. They're the first English club for the top 4 divisions to win 3 straight away games by 5 or more goals. Meanwhile, very much the other end of the spectrum, Sheffield United, the first English club to lose 3 straight home games by 5 or more goals. And what does it mean? It means we've got one heck of a title race, don't we? Between now and the end of the season, just 2 points separate the top 3. That victory for Arsenal, as I mentioned, gives them now a goal difference of plus 45, 6 ahead of Liverpool, 10 ahead of Manchester City. For more on this, let's get some guests in, shall we? Mario is with us, Nadem as well. Let's start with the positives for Arsenal. They were brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant, and what they do so well is they can play in tight areas. When they're in the top third of the field and they're in and around the box, they're even better than Manchester City at finding the right pass at the right time. And they make it look so easy. There's nothing clever about what they do. They just find the right pass. And if you watch them train before the game, when they have their warm-up, they play those little triangles on the corner of the penalty box for 20 minutes before they go out on the pitch. So it's something they work out all the time. And plus, you've got Martinelli, who can run like the wind down the left-hand side, and you've got Shaka, as you mentioned, was absolutely brilliant. And Declan Rice, because Jorginho was playing, Declan Rice can then make forward runs.
Yep.
Havertz led the line much better than he had done before. I thought it was an outstanding performance. And at the moment, I would say they're almost unplayable.
When they had that little mini break, we were like, this is Manchester City's time to shine now. They're going to work their way through the gears, as they have over recent seasons when they went on to the league title. But you see Arsenal bettering them in this run, and this is such an important time of the season.
I think Arsenal are playing the best football in the league, but bar none. And they do have a little bit of catching up to do, well, a couple of points with everybody else, but the top 2 are just kind of purring along so nicely. But saying that, you look at Arsenal, and I spoke about them, I remember speaking about them defensively earlier in the season, about how hard-working they were. And without question, I think Arsenal, as a team, are the hardest working team in the league. The Declan Rice goal, if you look at his movement in the box, never switches off, never stops running, and all of a sudden, he's in the perfect place to pick up the ball from Bukayo Saka. And that just kind of speaks to not just Declan Rice and his impact, but how everybody at Arsenal continues to work everywhere on the park. And it's showing in terms of results. They had their little mini break, and all of a sudden they seem to have pressed a reset. They've got things in Arteta has got this team right where he needs them to be. At a time where we're normally talking about City peaking, City putting distance between them and everybody else, Arsenal, for me, again, are the ones that are showing no signs of slowing down. Added to that, and while Martinelli does limp off, Thomas Partey gets minutes. And you just wonder, as those players come back into the fold, how that enhances Arsenal and this title run-in.
The biggest thing I would say is that at the moment, teams can get 10 men behind the ball, and it's difficult to break them down. When teams get 10 men behind the ball, Arsenal have no problems about breaking them down. Sheffield United came out and they were going to be defensive. From the very first minute, Arsenal created 2 or 3 chances in the very first minute. And it was just because they're so clever in and around the box.
Mario, how would you handle Shaka? And don't say kick him.
No, that was for me also. I felt so sorry for Trusty. You know, like the way he was standing, and he was trying to show him to go outside, but then he went outside, and the speed of him, it's just very, very difficult to stop. The only thing you can do, I think, when you play against a fast player, you got to make sure that you know exactly where the space is. So regardless if you show him the outside, you got to also know that space is there, and that's the one that he's going to hit to. But you also got to make sure that you can keep up with that speed of him, because he showed him that angle and he just went. And that was in the beginning of the game, man. That was not like this happens later in the game. This was right after 3-4 minutes. He was gone. So there is always a battle, I think. When you play against a fullback, there is always a battle. The battle starts with the game. Is a psychological thing. It's like, am I going to make sure that I set you ready to make sure that you know, like, it's going to be a tough game for you? And the attacker thinks, let me test him and see what I can get out of this game. Now, after a couple of minutes, he already knew, Shaka, this is going to be my game.
Nadem, don't take this personally, but what's it like when you suffer such a bad defeat and there's still lots of time left in the game? Like, as we saw fans leaving at 3-0, 5-0 at half-time. How do you cope?
Listen, Dan, I feel that's a personal attack, but I'll answer the question anyway. I think when you... I've played in games, to be fair, when, you know, after 10 minutes, you're a goal down, 20 minutes, you're 2 goals down. And to be honest, because I saw Man United win a game 9-0 in the 90s, I'm always doing the math thinking, is this going to be me next? Is this what's going to happen to our team? And I think for Sheffield United, given the fact that in recent weeks conceded so many goals at home, I think it's 5 in the last 3 games or whatever it is, then the last team they needed to be playing in this moment was Arsenal. As the guys were saying, this is an Arsenal side who are probably playing the best football in the league, probably some of the best football around Europe at this moment in time. They have so much belief, they have so much quality, and they sort of play into the opposition's weaknesses as well. So I think from being on the field when your team's really struggling, like, you want to have an impact, maybe go and make a big tackle, maybe someone go and take the ball up the field. But I think what Arsenal do so well is they never allow you the chance to do that. If you want to make a big tackle, well, too bad, because they move the ball too quickly. If you make a tackle and you've got the ball, all of a sudden you're being swarmed on by 2-3 players, and then so you think, oh, I can't risk it, so you get rid of it. Well, you get rid of it, you're not going to see it again for 10 minutes now. And I think ultimately the way that they set up at this moment in time is as good as any team that we've seen so far this season. And yeah, sometimes you're hoping that they miss their chances, because for some of the games which they've lost this year, that has been a big criticism. But the general play itself, I think it's great to see. They're so well coached, they're so well drilled, and they've got so much confidence in themselves and in each other that when you go and play against them, you know you're going to be in for a very tough game. So when you don't have the same talent as them, as I say, you're hoping they miss chances because they don't give you anything at all.
A lot of talk during the January transfer window was Arsenal need a striker. They need someone to come in at number 9 to take them over the line. Since those discussions, Kai Havertz has kind of played in that role. Why has that worked?
Because he's got more confidence now. They're having the ball in the top third of the field more, so he's not having to make runs in behind. He's not receiving the ball from deep positions. They're clever around the box, and he's a clever player around the box. He's not having to be quite so physical. I mean, his 1- and 2-touch play today was good. He ran down the side of defenders for his goal. He's finishing well. And, of course, when he comes off, Jesus is now back fit, and he looked sharp and strong when he came on. So that's not an issue now, because everyone, as you said, everyone was saying, well, Arsenal just, they can't finish things off. Yeah. Well, they've proved us wrong. They've scored 5 goals in the last 3 over the last 3 games.
Yes.
Plus.
Scoring goals for fun. Just back to Sheffield United, Mario. What do you think Chris Wilder said at half-time?
Hey, look, when things like this happen, the only thing, okay, when something like this happened to myself, I remember I had a coach like Steve Bruce. What we did, he said to us, like, okay, the first half you already lost, so don't make the second half as worse as the first one. So now they come out again, and the way they were set up already, we already know that the system they play always play 5 at the back. But sometimes you pack the box so much that you in each other's area. And I think that's what's key. Also why, because the way Arsenal is set up, like you guys already mentioned it, with Rice and, you know, with Jorginho playing, and that gives Odegaard and Rice the opportunity now to be freer in the sense of like knowing that there is a body behind me that can help me out. And I think the way they set that up was also because they knew what they were going to be facing, a team that was going to sit back and try to minimize the space behind the defensive line. So the only way for Arsenal to start the game first was to open up right through the middle. And when they then commit to try to play out, because even I saw it a couple of times when Sheffield had the ball, I think it looked like a team that almost like, you know, when you have the ball and you're taking risk and try to build up from the back, it's almost saying to your team like, it's not a good thing what we're doing, but we're going to do it anyway because he trained it. While Sheffield is not in the situation now to play the beautiful football. They need to go long and try to maximize the potential in the sense of like putting it further ahead of your goal instead of like playing the game right in front of your goal, because then you're inviting Arsenal, a team like that plays that good football. That's just, that's not smart at all.
Of course, the reason these goals are so significant is that in the Premier League, as we see in the Bundesliga, it is goal difference that separates the sides if they're level on points come the end of the season. Meanwhile, in Italy and Spain, it's head-to-head. How did you get on with that opponent that you finished level with? So, very busy today, I put out a poll to ask people what they prefer, goal difference or head-to-head. You can see it's close. 56% prefers goal difference over head-to-head. How would you have voted, Shaq?
I probably would have voted goal difference. All the football I've ever played, it's been goal difference has been the deciding factor. So I've never had to kind of deal with the head-to-head as being as important as goal difference. And that's just kind of the old school, what I'm used to.
Right.
Yeah, goal difference is over a course of a season. Head-to-head, you're just talking about a couple of games.
But a couple of key games against the people that you ended up tied with.
But I still think goal difference.
Why should you be rewarded for putting 6 past Sheffield United when your opponents only put 4?
Well, that's maybe the other team didn't go right to the end, and that's why at the moment you can't stop games. You know, we used to say, don't play any added on time when the score's 6-0, but they had to play the extra 5 minutes today because they might score another goal and it might help the goal difference. So I'm all for goal difference, I've got to say.
What about you, Nathan?
To be honest, having been somebody that's only ever done goal difference until I went to MLS, I think the head-to-head thing, I don't mind it, you know. And I know some people in England will be, oh, this is outrageous, why would you think such a thing? I think it sort of makes the value of that second game against that other side so much more important. You know, if you lose that first game against a side that's going to be up near the top with you, the importance of winning and winning well means that if you do that, that does count as an extra point as such. Whereas I think with goal difference, obviously every game itself is different, there are different modes, and as Stuart was saying and Shaka was saying, it does matter. But I like that element of head-to-head because then, say if you do go and win a league above someone because you beat them twice, you will feel like you were the better team, even if the other team managed to score more goals in games, you know, that didn't feature you at all.
Mario?
I go goal difference. Why? Because I think, like, when people come to the stadium, they want to see us score. I mean, also because of my past, right? Where I come from, it was always like we say we keep the ball, control the game, and score more goals than them, so we win the game anyway. That was like that's the Ajax system. And I mean, if you listen to Guardiola, it's the similar kind of way he looks at the game, and I think Arsenal is doing similarities too. Yeah, we want to score so many goals that we can and try to win beautiful. Of course, later on in your career, I played maybe for other teams that they were thinking the other way around. But in the beginning, I was definitely built like that, and I think that's for me the best way.
Well, we know it's going to be close. Whether it's going to be so close, goal difference will come into play. We'll only find out at the end of the season. But the next 3 games, very much significant when you take a look at who's playing who. And the standout one is Manchester City, isn't it? You go to Anfield, you're at home against Arsenal, home against Aston Villa, who, of course, beat you convincingly earlier on in the season. Ooh, Nathan, ooh.
Hold on, did you say you, like I'm playing? I don't play down, I work for you.
No,
you know what I mean?
it wasn't a you. It was. Sorry, let me just change the tone of it. It was more of a ooh.
Yeah, I think as far as City go, if you believe that they're going to be winning the title, then you believe that they probably have to win these 3 games. And to see them just go back to back to back with a Champions League game in there, with an FA Cup tie in there as well, then these are enormous games. Usually it's a cliche to say every game's a cup final, but this is it. This is the moment. I think if they drop points in this window, it's going to be very, very hard for them to catch a side like Arsenal, who are playing some of the best football we've ever seen from them, and then from like Liverpool as well, who are going to be bringing more and more players back who have that feeling, and they know the importance of it being the last season with their current manager. But it's Man City; they are capable of doing it. But it's also the Premier League, whereby you can never say anything's guaranteed apart from Arsenal winning away at Sheffield United.